door. It isn't there, because there are so many of you that I'd like to sleep with. But thank you all so much for coming tonight. I'm so touched. And to all of you that came to the meet and greet, I'm especially touched. And I want to say that I'm sorry I was having to race, but there were hundreds of you and it was so many people to meet. But I always love hearing your stories about how you discovered the film, what it's meant to you, what you've learned from it, or the liberation you found from it. It's music to my ears, because I was just a happy woofer that got lucky and got cast in the movie. Would you like to know how I got cast? The usual way, I slept with the director. Are you kidding? He was a screaming homosexual. I'm going to tell you, I was a tapped on. I busked in London in the street, right? I used to dress in top hat and tails. Could I look more elegant? The answer is no. I looked unbelievable, and I performed with a friend of mine who dressed as this very French Pierrot. He was a mime. Don't tell me. Anyway, we used to busk outside Jesus Christ Superstar. That was the largest theatre in London, the Palace Theatre, and Jim Sharman, the young Australian director, had directed it, and he saw me tap dancing outside that theatre. But then he doesn't know. Okay, cut to, and by the way, in that show, he'd cast a young man called Richard O'Brien. So, you've no idea the series of highly fortunate events that have brought us all here together, and that so really didn't happen. It's utterly magical. So Richard was the understudy of Herod in Jesus Christ Superstar. Then Herod was leaving the show and Richard wanted to play it like Elvis Presley, which the producers said no and they sacked him. Well, at the time, Jim Sharman, who didn't like musicals, but he had a mega hit with Hair in Sydney, a mega hit with Superstar in London, and then he was now working in this tiny attic that held about 60 people at best, above the Royal Court Theatre in London, which is in Chelsea at the end of King's Road. Couldn't be a better spot, and it's not the West End. Anyway, he heard that one of the actors, Richard O'Brien, had been fired, and he was just casting a play. He'd just met this drummer in a band who said he wrote plays. He said, let me have a look at them because I need to put something on. I've been given an opportunity to direct 3 plays at this tiny theatre in the attic. And he said, I like this one. The drummer's name was Sam Shepard. Go figure. Okay, hold on to your hats. So, he hears about that actor that was fired, and he went, well, I think, hasn't he got a kid? I'm going to hire him to be one of the 4 actors in The Unseen Hand. So he starts rehearsing. There's only a 3-week rehearsal for all shows in the attic of the Royal Court. 3 weeks rehearsal and a 3-week run. So Richard said during the rehearsal period, he said, Jim, I'm writing a musical. It's a rock and roll musical based on Frankenstein. I've written about 4 songs and about a dozen pages of, the book. And he said, should I bring my guitar in and play you some of it? And Jim said, yeah, sure. And the next day he brought in his acoustic guitar and he sang for Jim and Richard Hartley, who became the musical director of Rocky. He sang for them. The first song was Science Fiction Double Feature. 12 pages of script was all he had. And Jim heard that song, he went, I'll do it. And we started rehearsing in about, I don't know, less than 2 months later, 6 weeks or something later. So, anyway, because you probably are familiar with, it was Frankenstein written by Mary Wollstonecraft, there's only one servant in that book and in all the films and plays of it. Well, Richard too had put one servant, riffraff, which he had no idea that he was going to end up playing, because of course he thought he was going to be Frankenfurter. Of course, he describes himself as 70% female, 30%. It'd be like, I'm quickly adding up, he's 70% female, what does that mean for the male? Yeah, 30% male. Anyway, so he said, no, you need more servants. You need 2 more servants for backup vocals and harmonies. And so they banged on about this, and they went to a cafe where I was working as a waitress / soda jerk. Bored out of my mind, I would wear my satin hot pants, little outfit that I'd made myself, 1930s, polka dot, I literally sewn it myself, polka dot blouse with a pussy bow, and the taps are on, and instead of serving the customers, I decided to get on the table and tap dance for them, because I was controlling the music through that, Fred Astaire. So Jim's telling Richard, no, you definitely need to have another servant. You actually need 2 more servants. They walk into the cafe, first thing they see is me tap dancing on top of the table. And Jim just turned to Richard and went, and there's your servant. We arrived heading from the airport into Austin, right away. I thought, this is the most interesting place I've seen. I loved it immediately. The architecture. And as an Aussie, we know something about barbecue, but I think we learned it from you.
So now,
I thought this actually spins. Right, did you remember Maggie Smith in Downton Abbey? What exactly is this? What's a weekend?
So I got a question for you. How did you come up with that unique look for the makeup for your character?
Oh, well, that wasn't me.
Oh.
Mind you, if you see the photographs of when we were doing the theatre production, it is hilarious, because I started with my kind of Maria Callas, but with glitter, and that glitter, by the way, was made of glass then. And I'm just going to have to segue to tell you something. So the show opened, we were to run for 3 weeks. It was an absolute sensation from the first night, and the reviews were in the next day. So we were booked out for 3 weeks. So we got to extend for 5 weeks. We had to leave that the theatre because another show was coming in. Anyway, it was the last night of the show, and Mick Jagger was in the audience with Bianca and Elliot Gould. I can't even remember it. There was lots of stars there, and I rolled up to get ready for the show, and I see Jim Sharman, the director, the actor playing Rocky, and a doctor, and I'm not talking Dr. Scott. And they're all looking down at the crutch of Rocky. And I said, oh, what's going on? They went, Rocky had got some glitter caught in his cock. And it was swollen this much. Oh my God. And glass. And worse, I only found this out recently. Ouch. And worse, he was circumcised. Yeah, so it wasn't, trapped in that fashion. You're the first audience I've told that to.
Wow.
In this week, I come to Texas, I'm letting it all out. Don't forget to go.
All right. Since we're on the subject of aesthetics here, I gotta know, what is the deal with the Mickey Mouse ears in the film?
Well, it's funny you ask. I've gone to see Tim in the Los Angeles production of Rocky Horror. I'd gone to do a fashion show, that's another story, but anyway, I was thrilled because I got to see the LA production, naturally not nearly as good as us. But it did have this fabulous guy playing Eddie and Dr. Scott called Meat something, what was it? Anyway, Darling Meat, who no one had heard of Meat at that point. Mr. Loaf, as we could call him. And Tim had a few days off and he said, let's go to Palm Springs. And what's more, let's drop in on Disneyland on the way. And he bought me a pair of Mickey Mouse ears. You can see in my show, I've got photos of him and me in the pool in Palm Springs, and I'm wearing my ears at all times. And it was the brilliant set designer Jim Sharman, because when I got back to London, I would wear them with cocktail frocks, whatever. And so he had me wear them in the film. That's why I'm wearing those damn ears. Oh, and then of course Disney bought the film a few years ago, and they phoned Jim Sharman, the director, and they said, Mr. Sharman, Disney here, Mickey here, we just bought the film that you directed, and we need to get rid of Miss Campbell's nipples in the Horror Picture Show. Would you like to do the editing? And he wrote back tippy-tappy on the wordy, okay, computer, and said, I have no experience in eradicating nipples. But I can tell you one thing, that when the fans find out, there will be a civil war! I didn't mean civil, I meant global. Anyway, can you believe it? God, they're so conservative.
I want to live in a world where people's nipples get erased.
You do.
I know.
You do.
But I don't want to live there.
Oh, I see.
So, the last question that I've got for you here.
This is a workout for my waist. You were asking about my makeup.
Yeah, I was.
Well, it was designed by a Frenchman called Pierre Laroche.
Ooh.
And yes, because I had like mad glitter, my eye makeup kept getting bigger. The bigger the theatre we worked at, the bigger the makeup. So my eye makeup was literally at the top of my forehead in the last photos of it. And so Pierre did the makeup, a brilliant job, especially Frank. I mean, my makeup's, I like what he did with my makeup too. But you know what? I'm a little in doubt about what do you feel about the mask look for the floor show? Are you love it? I was not quite sure about that, but it's interesting that somebody like it. And I still don't know, do you think Susan's wearing a wig in the floor show?
Ooh.
I think she is too, and she did not need that wig. Jim Sharman wouldn't remember it was a wig, so I said, why the hell did you put her a wig? She's got incredible hair.
Huh.
Huh.
I know what you mean.
I've seen it. Okay.
Well, all right. Now, thank you so much for coming out here and answering these questions for us.
Wrote the show, he had no idea it was going to have the effect it has had, and it is still so adored 50 plus years later. The show is 51, and of course the film is 49. And the fact that it's had a profound effect on the LGBTQI plus you can let me know in my Instagram account if I forgot anything. The fact that it has linked and helped so many people find their own community in the midnight screenings, in the shadow casts, in just showing it to their friends and getting them out of their bedrooms, just being on screens, and the nerds who we just adore. So thank you, and it's just been a huge bonus being part of it, having that side, huge event, and thank you so much again for coming, and I love you!